Olivia DeRosier, a black woman in her 50s, is a quiet billionaire at the helm of an international real estate empire that she built from scratch. Originally from a modest neighborhood, she was able, thanks to her perseverance, her strategic intelligence, and her flair for business, to transform small opportunities into a vast network of luxury properties in the world's largest metropolises. Olivia has always preferred simplicity, despite the extent of her wealth. Unlike other tycoons of her rank, she avoids the spotlight, preferring to lead a peaceful and discreet life, far from worldliness and ostentatious luxury. Her colossal fortune, which could easily have landed her on the scene of fashion magazines or tabloids, remains for her a tool of freedom and philanthropy rather than a symbol of power or prestige. She surrounds herself with only a few trusted collaborators and runs her businesses with an almost family approach, faithful to her values of integrity and humility. Although her business is prospering, Olivia chooses to live in a beautiful but simple house, far from palaces or extravagant mansions. She travels without an escort, often in standard cars, and prefers intimate moments with family and close friends to galas and high society parties. This voluntary discretion is not only a life choice, but also a way for Olivia to remember her origins. As a black woman who has had to overcome obstacles linked to her gender and skin color, she knows that her accomplishments have not always been recognized at their true value. Many early in his career underestimated his skills or doubted his ability to break through in such a competitive field. However, Olivia never sought revenge for these doubts through vanity. Rather, she let her successes speak for her, proving that ambition, hard work, and strategic intelligence can surpass even the lowest expectations. Despite her billionaire status, Olivia remains true to herself, seeking neither fame nor public admiration. She lives by principles of humility and discretion, and it is precisely this simplicity that makes her unique in the business world where luxury and ostentation are often the norm. One day, Olivia DeRosier enters a large downtown bank to make an important transaction. Accustomed to personally managing certain aspects of her affairs, she prefers, as usual, to appear in person to ensure that everything is done correctly. That day, she wore a simple outfit: sober black pants, a light cotton blouse, and a pair of comfortable shoes, far from the luxury brands with which her immense fortune could be associated. Her hair is pulled back in an elegant but unpretentious hairstyle, and she doesn't wear any ostentatious jewelry, just a discreet watch. At first glance, she seems like any ordinary woman, and that's how she likes to be perceived. Walking through the glass doors of the bank, Olivia walks quietly towards the counter. The place is modern, with marble walls and digital screens showing information on interest rates and financial investments. The clientele present is composed mainly of executives and professionals, all dressed in suits and elegant outfits, which contrast with Olivia's casual appearance. She waits patiently for her turn, calmly observing the commotion around her. As soon as she approaches the counter, she immediately feels the suspicious look of the bank employee, a young man in a tight suit with a rigid appearance. He barely looks up at her as he greets her in a formal tone, already defensive. Olivia's modest appearance contrasts with the expectations he typically has of clients requesting large transactions. For him, she is just an ordinary customer, unimportant, even suspicious. When Olivia politely asks to make a bank transfer of a considerable amount to one of her international accounts, the employee narrows his eyes, suddenly on guard. He glances quickly at a screen, then at her, trying to hide his disbelief. The amount she wants to transfer far exceeds what he associates with typical transactions from seemingly modest clients. His fingers hesitate for a moment on the keyboard before he asks her, in a curt tone, to provide additional identification documents. "Can you show me proof of your identity, ma'am?" he asks in a cold voice, disregarding his usually courteous tone with other customers. Olivia, remaining calm as always, takes out her passport and an ID card, knowing that this kind of situation is unfortunately not unusual for her. But the employee, always suspicious, is not satisfied with these documents. He examines them at length, as if looking for an indication of falsification. Then he discreetly calls a superior, whispering something about a suspicious transaction and a strange customer. Olivia watches this scene without saying anything, knowing very well where this is going to lead. She experienced this kind of distrust and discrimination throughout her career, despite her countless successes and colossal fortune. A few minutes later, two bank security guards walked towards her, one of them looking serious. "Madam, there seems to be a problem with your transaction. Could you follow us, please?" One of the agents tells her, while the other discreetly places himself behind her, as if he fears that she will try to flee. Olivia, still imperturbable, follows the agents into a small adjacent room, while noticing the curious and suspicious looks of the other customers. Inside, the atmosphere is tense. The bank employee and an older manager are waiting for him, their faces tense. "Madam, we have concerns regarding this transaction. We need to make sure everything is in order before proceeding. We also contacted the police, just to be sure," the manager explains in a condescending tone, as if he were dealing with a fraudster. Security guards remain in the room, ready to intervene at any time. At this very moment, Olivia feels a deep sense of disgust. Not because she is suspected of anything, but because these men, blinded by their prejudices, do not even take the time to think about the possibility that they are wrong. They see her as just a modest black woman, not the powerful businesswoman she really is. Remaining perfectly calm and polite despite the condescending attitude and obvious distrust towards her, Olivia DeRosier, true to her self-control, quietly asks to speak to the bank manager. The manager, visibly annoyed and probably convinced that he does not have to give in to this kind of request coming from a customer he considers ordinary, rolls his eyes before responding sharply, "The director is unavailable at the moment. If you would like to wait." But before he can even finish his sentence, Olivia, without an ounce of frustration, takes her phone out of her bag and dials a number. The action, simple and discreet, somewhat surprised the employee and the security agents present. In a few seconds, she is on the line with someone. "Yes, it's Olivia DeRosier. I need you to call the manager of this bank. There seems to be a misunderstanding." "Thanks." His words are spoken with such confidence that the employees, until then skeptical, begin to question themselves. A few words are enough, and on the other side of the line, reassuring voice confirms that everything will be resolved as quickly as possible. The tension in the room is palpable. The manager, who until then felt in complete control of the situation, begins to lose his confidence. He tries to maintain his superior air, but something in Olivia's calm destabilizes him. The security guards exchange glances, slightly uncomfortable, perhaps wondering if they made a mistake by responding so hastily to the employee's call. A few minutes pass, but they seem interminable in this frozen climate of suspicion. Olivia remains unfazed, her eyes serenely on her phone, while the employees, sensing that something unusual is going on, can't help but steal furtive glances at her. Finally, the door to the small room suddenly opens, breaking the heavy silence. The bank manager himself, a man in his 50s, visibly stressed and panicked, storms in. His face is pale, and before he even speaks, he scans the room, his expression changing from astonishment to worry when he sees Olivia sitting calmly. He recognizes her instantly, and his face turns pale. He realizes, horrified, that a monumental error has been made. "Madame DeRosier," he exclaims in a trembling voice, as if he doesn't believe what he sees. "I am terribly sorry for this misunderstanding. If I had known you had come in person, we will proceed with your transaction immediately. Please accept our sincere apologies for this unfortunate incident." The employee who initiated this whole situation freezes, his face going from red to astonishment. He casts an incredulous look at his superior, finally realizing who this woman is that he's so grossly underestimated. The manager, who seemed so sure of himself moments earlier, stands speechless, trying to understand how he could have been so wrong. The security agents, also uncomfortable, step back discreetly, as if to avoid being associated with the situation. The contrast between the director's panicked attitude and Olivia's unwavering calm does not go unnoticed. In her silence, she dominates the room with her mere presence, proving that you don't have to raise your voice to demand respect. She fixes the director with a penetrating gaze, but without an ounce of apparent resentment. The director, in a desperate effort to save the situation, begins to sputter. Really? I don't know what happened here. It doesn't reflect the quality of service we usually provide to our customers, especially to people of your importance. Olivia interrupts in a soft but firm voice. It's not the quality of service that matters to me here, but the way your employees judge people. His tone is calm, but his words hit hard. She knows she could do more, demand sanctions, or even reparations for this affront, but that is not her style. Olivia never sought to abuse her power, even when she had every reason to do so. She rises slowly from her chair, grabbing her bag with effortless elegance. You should review your training policy and, perhaps, your prejudices, she adds calmly before heading towards the exit. The director tries to hold her back, stammering out more apologies, but Olivia has nothing more to say. She leaves the bank, leaving behind a silence heavy with shame, regrets, and unspoken lessons. What these men had thought was an unimportant customer was in reality a woman of stature far beyond what they could have imagined. And while the director and his employees stand frozen, they finally understand that this was not just a procedural error, but a profound error in judgment, revealing biases they never thought to question. That day, in that bank, Olivia showed without brilliance or anger that power also lies in dignity, in the ability to face prejudice without stooping to it, and above all, in the quiet strength of those who know who they are, even if others don't know it. After Olivia leaves the bank, the incident doesn't end there. The bank, fearing a public scandal, decides to open an internal investigation into the practices of its employees. The director, even more worried than ever, expressed his regrets to the bank's head office. He fears that this event will damage their reputation, especially if Olivia decides to make the matter public. Olivia, for her part, remains discreet as usual. However, one of his close colleagues informed him that other customers had been victims of similar treatment in this bank, mainly people of color or from modest backgrounds. Although she is not a public activist, Olivia feels challenged by the idea of changing this toxic culture. Reflecting on the scale of the problem, Olivia decides to call on a team of diversity and inclusion experts. She charges them to study in depth not only this bank, but other financial institutions where discriminatory behavior could occur. Its goal is not to start a vendetta, but to bring about real structural change. It's not about attacking, she told her team, but about correcting an invisible injustice so that others don't have to go through this. At the same time, news of the incident reaches a small circle of Olivia's relatives and business partners. Some are urging her to take the matter to court or to the media, but she remains measured in her actions. However, an article leaked to the local press, revealing that an influential woman was allegedly the victim of discrimination in a large banking institution. Although his name is not mentioned, speculation about his identity spread quickly. The bank's managers, increasingly nervous, try to contact Olivia to clarify the situation. They offer him a meeting with the CEO, hoping to defuse the potential crisis. During this private meeting, Olivia calmly listens to the repeated apologies from senior management, but she is not satisfied with mere words. She presents them with a comprehensive report, written by the experts she hired, highlighting systemic flaws in their customer service practices and treatment of minority customers. This is not an isolated case, she said, looking the CEO straight in the eye. If you want to regain the trust of your customers and avoid a public disaster, you need to take concrete action and quickly. The CEO, aware of the scope of the accusations and Olivia's influence, agrees to her conditions. In less than a month, the bank launched a program to review its internal policies, with mandatory diversity training for all its employees and reinforced mechanisms to guarantee fairness in the treatment of customers. But Olivia doesn't stop there. Using the incident as a catalyst, she decided to create a philanthropic fund intended to finance awareness-raising initiatives on discrimination in the financial sector. She is partnering with NGOs and community leaders to launch a national campaign titled Respect and Dignity for All, aimed at highlighting the barriers faced by minorities in financial institutions. The campaign quickly attracted media and public attention, making Olivia a central figure in this fight for equality, despite her initial reluctance to be in the spotlight. Thanks to her methodical and non-confrontational approach, she managed to convince several other banks to join the initiative, forcing them to reevaluate their own practices. Olivia thus proves that even the most humble incidents can become levers for change when used with intelligence and determination. She transforms a humiliating situation into an opportunity for large-scale reform, while remaining true to her discreet and measured nature. A few months after the incident at the bank, the financial landscape began to change. Driven by the initiatives Olivia has launched, several major banks are adopting stricter policies around inclusion and fair treatment of customers. Diversity training is becoming the norm, and new monitoring practices are being implemented to prevent discriminatory behavior. The philanthropic fund that Olivia established to support these efforts is growing, attracting donations from other influential business leaders. Seminars, conferences, and awareness campaigns are multiplying across the country, and several financial institutions are joining this movement by recognizing the need for lasting change. Olivia, for her part, remains faithful to her discretion. She continues to manage her real estate empire with the same rigor and humility that have always characterized her. During a meeting with her team, she thanks them for their support, reminding us that what matters is not media attention, but the real and lasting impact on the lives of marginalized people. One day, during a recognition ceremony for her commitment, she gave a brief but poignant speech. "We all have a role to play in building a fairer world. My role may be more discreet than that of others, but that does not make it any less important. What we started here today must continue. It is not just a question of laws or regulations, but of fundamental respect. And this respect must be universal." The room applauds, but Olivia, true to herself, quickly disappears after the ceremony, refusing to linger in the spotlight. She returns to her life, satisfied knowing that she not only helped correct an injustice, but helped shape a more inclusive and respectful future. In the months that followed, the name of Olivia de Rosier remained etched in the minds of those working in the financial sector, not as a figure of power or media influence, but as a silent symbol of change, a person who, through his resilience and calm, managed to transform a humiliation into a driving force for a better future. So the incident at the bank, instead of remaining a mere anecdote, becomes the starting point of a quiet revolution in the way companies treat their customers and employees, a reminder that true power does not always reside in noisy gestures, but often in silent and resolute actions.